Welcome everybody to Den Excelsior, the mostly Marvel podcast. I'm Ricky, your
Mostly.
host. With me, as always, is Dennis. This is episode 121, where we're dipping back into that mostly well and talking about The Crow.
1994. The
Good year.
Crow. Yeah, I just want to point out it's the freaking 30th anniversary of this movie.
That's
That's
an old movie.
that's an old ass
You're old.
movie. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Like,
old.
yeah. I was 16 when this movie came out. That was
Wow.
well,
So
actually
think about movies that came out in the
I was 15,
70s.
I was 15 actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um
so movies that came out in the 70s, that's what this movie is to you, that is to me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that's bad math, isn't it?
It's something it checks
I think
out.
it's the 60s. I think you're thinking of the 60s.
Oh, yeah, 90s, sorry.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
forget about a decade. It's
Things
okay.
things I honestly have not seen a lot of movies from the 60s. I feel like it's way easier to go back and watch a movie from the 90s for you than it would be for me to go watch a movie from the 60s.
Uh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think there's a weird there's a sliding scale
Well,
of,
that was back in the day when they were just like, fuck it, this movie's getting destroyed.
yeah.
They were still
Yeah.
doing that back then.
Yeah.
But
It's like I'm only putting that out there because I'm like, please don't make me go watch movies from the 60s because I
can
don't
watch, like,
know.
what's the 60s superhero movie we can watch? The
Oh, okay.
Spirit?
Well, Batman, the Adam West
Oh, the
Batman.
Batman movie? Okay.
I'm down for
Actually,
that.
I wouldn't mind watching the Adam West Batman
Wait,
movie.
have you never seen that movie?
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've seen some of the Adam West Batman episodes, but I've never seen that movie.
Oh, the movie is like a thing. It's like a
Isn't
spectacle.
the trial of the Incredible Hulk, is that 70s?
No,
Or
that's
that
80s.
60s?
It's
It's
80s.
80s? Oh.
That show started in the very late 70s and it got really popular in the early 80s. But yeah, it's 80s. The trial. Yeah. Yeah, that movie, that show kept going. Like it went through a lot of the 80s
Was that a
and
TV
then
movie or was that a movie?
it was a TV movie.
Okay.
You're talking about with Daredevil, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And Thor,
that's
right?
80s.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
Thor is a different one. There's two different TV movies. One's with Thor and one's with Daredevil.
Oh.
Yeah. There
I
might
didn't
even
know
be
they were different.
three. There might be three TV movies, if I remember correctly. But I'm down to watch those any day of the week. If you want to watch some old Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno, I like, just to be clear, those shows are probably why I love Marvel. Because like I grew up with those shows.
There I want to try escargot in my life. I'm not at the point where I want to seek out a restaurant that has it. I just want to be there and it's on the menu. So I want to watch these movies. I'm not seeking it out actively,
All right, all
but
right.
I think we can get down some of that list before the end of the year.
But just for the record, Batman's just on HBO Max. That's, or Max is whatever you want to call it.
That's fair.
It's just
Yeah.
there. It's just there
Yeah.
all the time. But yeah, no, I like my childhood was the Incredible Hulk and Wonder Woman. Like, and Wonder Woman was in rerun, I think, when I was watching it. And in
Did Wonder
fairness,
Woman get a movie?
I think her pilot was like a TV movie. Like it was like an hour and a half or 2 hour long. But she never got a movie. Like, no, Linda Carter. No. I mean, I think that's kind of why it was a big deal for her to be in 84, right? Because that's like,
She's barely in it.
I mean, she's like pretty important to the story though, right?
I don't know if she's important.
She's the MacGuffin character that the wings belong to. Like, she's the character. Anyways, we're spoiling all kinds of other movies. The point for everybody, thank you for tuning in to us today. We are pre-recording this on a Thursday. This is what we're doing
Mhm.
for a while now. We're trying something out. So if you're showing up to troll us live, apologies. We're not really here right now. We are doing this in the privacy of our own little recording studios. And but we hope that you enjoy listening to us talk about all kinds of superhero related content. Ricky's going to talk about some news, and then we're going to just chat about 1994's The Crow, starring Brandon Lee,
Mhm.
for a little while. And if there are other oldies but goodies you'd like us to watch that are even remotely in the hero genre, let us know, because we watched Mars Attacks last week, and that one was a stretch to call that one a that's a pop culture.
Pop culture IP.
Yeah, but I usually like to stick more
Would
in
you
the heroes.
consider the Green Hornet?
That's
Seth Rogen's.
absolutely.
Okay, I would want to
By
watch
the
that one.
way, what is the Green Hornet's connection to the Crow?
Well, Kato, and then Kato was Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee's son is the Crow.
Yeah, there you go. Did you know
Yeah,
that they did a crossover with the Green Hornet and Adam West Batman?
I feel like I did know that, but
They were on the TV at about the same time.
was Kato always in the Green Hornet, or did he come in after the fact?
Kato was always there.
Was it always Bruce Lee?
Yes. Yes. And that's when they realized that he was a far better entertainer than the guy playing the Green Hornet. And his movie career took off pretty quickly after that. Yeah. He was his American movie career. I think he'd already made a lot of movies in China.
Mhm.
But the Green Hornet was his
Did
first
he finish the
foray.
Green? I feel like there's a trivia nugget that I'm forgetting where he left the Green Hornet and they have another. There's two Katos basically.
There might be, because I mean, dude, they used to ask the guy to slow down because the camera
Yeah.
couldn't catch his movements. Like he's too good, right? Like he's too good. Um, but yeah, no, he is the father of Brandon Lee, and sadly
Who's the
both
mom? Is the
managed.
mom famous?
Um, she's a white lady. I don't think she's famous. She's from California. I you're putting me on the spot. I can't remember her
Well,
name
I
right
mean, I
now.
feel like back then, if you're in Hollywood, you're dating famous people. It feels like.
I don't think she was famous. But if you've never seen, there is a movie about the life story of Bruce Lee, and it's pretty good. It stars Jason Scott Lee, no relation at all. But it's a pretty good movie. You should check that out. I don't
Well,
remember what genre.
aside before we get into the news, what have you been watching or doing in this late week in January?
I've been watching two things randomly. I just finished up the Orville
Oh, we are talking about that last week.
season 3. I finished it up finally. It turned out to be a lot. It found its stride at the end.
Is it done, or are they doing more?
I found out this week that it's not necessarily done. It's just never been canceled and it's never been renewed. But writer strikes really messed with things for a lot of last year. So I think they're kind of just weighing the pros and cons of different shows and trying to figure out which ones are worth it. But the networks never canceled the Orville. And according to Seth MacFarlane in an interview last week with Logic, he is very much working on season 4. So I was surprised. That kind of made me more excited as I kept watching the show. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. That's interesting to know. Shannon, what is her name? Shannon. Sorry, I was looking. His wife's Bruce Lee's wife's name is Shannon. I can't find the full thing in this. I was reading an article. Anyways, yeah, I've been watching the Orville, and then the other thing that I've been watching is kind of a weird one. I started watching The Legend of Vox Machina.
What is that?
It is Critical
Sounds familiar.
Role's animated show on Amazon Prime. That is it's basically their D&D campaigns animated as a show.
Is
Um,
it scripted as a show, or is it just their
it's
voices?
it's scripted. It's scripted. So basically, it takes their stories that they did and kind of just writes them as a clean story
Okay.
to digest, and they do the voices of their characters and stuff. But the weirdest part about it is it's not branded D&D, and they don't want to pay Hasbro for it. So it's just, because they own their characters, but Hasbro owns, like Big
The
B's Magical
terms.
Hand or something like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So they just don't use any of the terminology. So you kind of have to like put two and two together sometimes when you see things on screen. You're like, oh, that's Hunter's Mark. You know what I mean? But they're never going to say Hunter's Mark or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it's weird. But yeah, I've tried to watch that show before without having any context of like Critical Role, like 'cause I'm just that guy that didn't really watch Critical Role. Um, but over the past year, yeah, I watched it and I didn't like it the first time I tried watching it for like 5 minutes. But this over the past year, my TikTok has served me a lot of Critical Role videos, like little snippets
Hmm.
and stuff. And the more and more I watch them, the more I get it. And so I went back and tried to watch the show, and I'm like, okay, I like it. It's better. I get it. It's they're kind of like us. They like
It's
to do
like
silly stuff. They like to do
I,
raunch. They like to do they like to have
I've
sex.
I've been to like six, maybe seven PAXs, and so PAX is a gaming convention, so video games and board games. I'm usually just there for the video games, but Critical Role is like a pillar of that convention that I just never dip into, nor do I care to dip into.
Yeah.
I think I own Critical Role merch somewhere that you just kind of get for showing up. But yeah, that's a whole part of the fandom that I just neglect to experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just about like, you know, people doing D&D at like a really high level. Like they are so comfortable with the rule set of D&D that that's not the complicated part for them. So they can put more time and investment into story and being
Mhm.
and inhabiting their characters. You know what I mean? So they go to a lot of trouble to think about the ins and outs of their characters and 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 they really use that to like fuel every decision that they make and really it's something that we struggle to as D&Ders, especially because we play remotely, is really trying to like take a moment to like get into character before we hit start on that game, and like
Mhm.
and in fairness, sometimes it can get annoying, like I like when our friend Kelly, God bless him, he was great, but he was full on so heavy on that accent, and the rest of us are just like, here trying to survive a COVID by just playing a game for 2 hours once a week, and this dude has got a full character, and it doesn't quite work, right? It's a little, it's got
Yeah.
to be balanced, but if you get a whole group that are all on that level, and we're talking like, all of these are like actors that have, you know had struggles in Hollywood, but like they still know how to act, and so that's what you get. And so when you watch it as a show, it takes away a lot of the baggage, right? Because you don't have to like,
Mhm.
you're not watching them roll dice, you're not watching them like, you
Yeah,
know,
you get the story, which is I guess
yeah,
the part you want.
yeah. And but you, as a person who's played D&D for a while, you can catch all the stuff. You can see it. You're like, I know what that is. And oh, that's a barbarian. Like, oh, he's doing berserker rage. Like, you get it. You just understand. The more you play D&D, the more you get the nuance of the show. And so I like the show now. Like, it's cool. But I think you should check it out. I know you don't like fantasy in general, but like, I think for somebody who's been playing D&D for almost 2 years now, you might appreciate it more than you think you would. I'm not saying go back and watch Critical Role. I still haven't. I'm not taking that step yet. Like it's for me, it's like I've never been the kind of guy to watch other people play games. You know what I mean? Like I prefer to
Yeah.
play games
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a lot. That's a huge market, right? There's a lot of people that make a lot of money off of people watching them play games, and so
Live
you know,
streaming is a big thing.
no way. I never would have guessed. Yeah.
um,
Uh,
no, that's cool. It's one of those things where I'm sure if I watch it, I will enjoy it, but it's like it's not the first thing I reach to once I'm in there, you know.
yeah.
Um, I watched Ted. I watched the first episode. I think I feel your sentiment. I will say when the jokes land in that show, they're pretty good. They're
They're
pretty
pretty good,
funny.
but it takes
But
a while in the first episode,
I
right?
think it takes a while,
But when they
and it's
get
a
to the weed,
lot more misses.
when they get to
But
the weed, though, it
it
gets
definitely got better. And
it
yeah, I was
hits
surprised
its
how
yeah,
long they were.
right. They're like 40-minute episodes, like they're
Yeah.
too long. Yes, but I promise you, every time from then on out, they hit their marks. They get it. They only get better and better as each episode goes. That first episode's rough. It's rough. It's like 20 minutes of not hitting the jokes, like just not landing them. So, but I'm glad you checked it out. It's weird to me after finishing the Orville because like basically everybody on that show is from the Orville except for like the mom.
Well,
But it's
I'm
fine.
happy to support my one IMDb credit, even though I didn't get called back for this one. Ted was fun.
For the record, by the way, Linda Lee Caldwell was an American teacher. She's the one. She's the one who. She's Bruce Lee's wife. She was a teacher.
Okay.
So
All right.
they don't always marry famous people, you know. Sometimes, some of the more successful
I
Hollywood
mean, to be
marriages.
fair, Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn are not married.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of the more successful Hollywood marriages, though, are people marrying normies. You know what I mean? Like it happens sometimes.
Actually, you know what's funny? When I did the Kurt Russell thing for the Monsters Monarch show, he had talked about his dad, how his dad was an actor, but his dad was an actor in the sense of like it was a job, and he would just talk about like how he would go to work, that was his work, and he would come home like for dinner, and that's what was kind of expected. Like the acting days of the past you weren't necessarily a superstar per se, you were just an actor as a profession.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, that is, you know, like it's just how they pay the bills, you know, like, and so, you know, I think the idea of the Hollywood star has kind of conflated in a lot of people's minds, like what it means to be an actor. But like for a lot of people, it is just you go to work, you do your job, you come home, you know, like it's, you know, not everybody who acts gets to be famous. It's just that's not how it works. But we just put so much emphasis onto what it means to be a celebrity nowadays that it's hard, you know. Like it's like I knew a guy in college that was wanted to be an actor, and you know, every now and then we see him in like a random commercial or something like that, and it's like, hey, go you, you know. Like I saw him in an episode of I think New Girl or something like that, and that was just like, I'm like, what is this, you know? And he's not, he's just probably not going to be famous, but like that's his job, you know. So it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Well, that's his job. Our job right now is to get through some news.
But like, is it our job or is it us doing it for fun?
It's us doing it for fun. And
Okay, cool,
you know
cool,
who's
cool.
coming back for fun and probably a decent amount of money? Wilson Bethel. Daredevil season 3's Bullseye, Benjamin Poindexter, is making a return.
I just gotta say, I love the hoops that this show is jumping to course correct Like they've already filmed a bunch of this show and then trashed it and said it's terrible and then fired everybody. And now they're like, you know what we need? I don't know why we were considering doing a show called Daredevil Born Again and not including Bullseye. That sounds pretty fucking dumb. But sure, okay. I guess they finally got to the point of let's
It just seems
include
like
Bullseye.
they wanted to make a Daredevil show inspired by the Netflix series, right? And just take the bits and bobs, but now it's to your point, they're like, in fuck it, we're just making season 4, which is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing because Daredevil is one of the best superhero shows, period. So
I think Bullseye was one of the coolest characters.
I think
they made Bullseye cool.
I think Bullseye was way better than Colin
dumb, right?
I don't think Bullseye's dumb. I think he's
dumb.
He's terrifying, is what he is. He's a sociopath that like has like a crazy ability. Like he's basically what if Hawkeye went super contract killer.
But that's Hawkeye can't do the Bullseye things, right?
Yeah, he can.
He can?
Yeah. Don't you remember in the show when he taught Kate how to ricochet a quarter?
Was it ricochet a quarter or like a?
Yeah. Hawkeye can do this. They have the same skill set.
But he bounces stuff off of walls.
Yeah, Hawkeye can do that too.
Oh. Well, Hawkeye's just lame.
So you went from hating on Bullseye to now you're hating on Hawkeye.
Yeah, they all suck.
Fair enough. If you don't like one, you're not going to like any of them. But I like Bullseye because his skill level is like appropriate to the hero he's fighting. You know what I mean? Like Daredevil and Bullseye are just slightly above normal human. Like, you know, like they're like peak human. And so they're not doing crazy stuff. In fairness, there is a point in the story where eventually like Bullseye gets like adamantium skeleton. And I'm like, come on, guys.
Does Lady Bullseye have powers?
I think it's similar powers, but I'm not sure.
Hitmonkey's Lady Bullseye?
You never seen the TikToks where like a dude will just sit there all day trying to make the perfect shot?
Yeah.
Just imagine that's Bullseye's. That's Bullseye. He just taught himself how to do that, you know? I applaud this news. Good for them. I'm happy that this guy's coming back. This is great because he didn't get to wear the costume. And I need him to wear the costume. I need him in the suit. Yeah. Oh, hey man, we're finally getting Wolverine in the suit. We can get this guy in the suit. Oh, did I spoil your other news?
For Daredevil and round of applause for Marvel. It's award season here in the US. The Oscars are coming up next month or March. I don't know when the Oscars are.
I think they're in March.
Marvel got 2 nods as a whole. So Into the Spider-Verse is nominated for Best Animated Feature, and Guardians 3 is nominated for Best Visual Effects.
They didn't get nominated for makeup?
Mm-mm.
Wow, that's pretty rough because that makeup in that, you know, that movie has like the new
Barbie didn't get nominated for makeup.
Yeah, but you know, Guardians replaced the Grinch as the most prosthetics used in a movie.
I did know that. You told me that on this show.
Yeah, so I'm kind of surprised that they didn't get nominated for the thing that the Grinch got nominated for.
Just for doing the most and then get you the.
Okay, are you gonna try and crap on the makeup in Guardians? Really?
I'm just saying, just because you do the most of something doesn't mean you're gonna nominate. I don't think it's bad.
Okay, move on. Yes, and Barbie, that is just like that's just wrong. I don't understand how they can so entirely miss the point of the Barbie movie and go and like nominate Ryan Gosling and not nominate Margot Robbie.
America Ferrera got nominated.
I know, but we're not talking about America Ferrera. We're talking about Barbie, the titular. This is like when Heath Ledger got nominated and Christian Bale didn't. Come on, man. Those scenes only work because both of them are in those scenes. Okay, like it's.
I think the prize for Barbie is the $1 billion at the box office.
Oh, don't get me
That's the
wrong.
trophy.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think Barbie has anything to be bitter about. Those people don't have to be bitter. But what I'm saying is culturally, like this is how ass backwards the Oscars are. Is they don't understand why these $1 billion movies are important to us. And so they go in and award the movies that none of us watch. You know what I mean? Like that's the weird part to me. And like it makes them very out of touch because I think it's really hard to argue that Barbie was not a cultural touchstone of last year. Like, right? It was
I'm
an
going to
event.
give a hot take. I don't think we have these conversations if the MTV Movie Awards were still relevant.
Nobody gives a shit about the MTV Movie Awards.
My counter is I don't think the Oscars, they shouldn't be a representation of like it's not a contest to amongst the country, right? Because I do think it sets a different bar.
Okay,
it's
so you're not wrong, but here's the thing. The reason I make this claim is because when they get surprised every year that their ratings are lower and lower, it's still a show that they're putting on for people to watch. They have a lot of paid sponsors. They want people watching it, and they get surprised year after year after year nowadays when there's less people watching it. And why? It's because we don't care what they chose to nominate or or award, like because they're just so far
you could say the same thing about the Grammys. Like I don't.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Like you could say the same thing about most award shows except for the MTV Movie Awards, probably, or the Viewers Choice Awards,
the Spike Lee Man Awards, or Spike TV Man Awards. Spike Lee's fine.
TV,
yeah.
Spike TV, yes,
yes,
Spike TV. Anyways, that's my rant about Barbie. I think that movie got denied some very important push or attention, whatever. Moving on. What you got? Anything else?
That's it for the news.
I'm surprised that you didn't bust out the poster.
The poster?
The Deadpool 3, the Deadpool 3 poster.
There's no poster.
Was that not a poster? Oh, it's a promotional image.
Yeah.
The promotional image they released.
The promo with the mask? Or
yeah.
I don't know if that was released last week.
I think
it's out there as of last week. I don't think it's been released.
Oh, was it not officially released?
No. The trailer is tied to the Super Bowl. That's probably most likely when any stuff like that's going to come out.
Well, you still saw the same promo I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Did he not look? He's wearing the mask, Ricky. He's wearing the mask. Wow.
The sleeves, man. The sleeves do it for me. I need the sleeves.
Are you okay?
Off. I need the sleeves off.
Are you in a bad place today? Like, we didn't ask you what stuff you've been watching. Is it? I'm sorry.
It's just Ted and spoilers. Ted and Wolverine, Deadpool spoilers. I don't know. I didn't hate it. It's to be so we're referencing a promotional leak promo image showing the Wolverine mask. It's not like a photo of the mask. It's almost like it looks very similar to a concept art. It has like a slight stylized tinge to it, right?
Yeah, it's well, I mean, it looks like it's drawn just like all the other.
It's promo art, yeah. It looks like promo art. Like that's the best way to put it.
It'll be like marketing art, probably for the.
Yeah, you buy Deadpool cereal. This is the image on the back of it.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So like, I don't have a problem with it because I know that they're going to end up looking like that picture. You know what I mean? Like so. but I'm trying to understand why you don't like it. Why don't you like seeing Wolverine finally wear the mask? That's all we
I
wanted.
think the proportions are a little off. I like my big wing, big wang ear thing, Wolverine.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
You like him to get his head stuck in a doorway.
Yeah, he should look like a classic Yellow Jacket. That's what his ears should look like.
Classic Yellow Jacket. You're talking
Yeah,
about
the
Hank
Ant Man
Hank,
villain,
Hank
like
Pym? Hank Pym?
yeah, the shoulder thing.
Oh, his shoulders. Okay,
Yeah,
but with his ears.
but with his ears.
All right. Okay, fine. Fine. I was pretty happy with it, and I saw some really great reactions. I just love how much that movie cares, or that franchise cares about making its fans happy, and it just makes me happy. Like I think that goes a long way when you see something. They could just do a cash grab, right? Like, and don't make no mistake, they are grabbing the cash from us when they make this movie. But I like to see that they're actually putting the effort into making things look more and more the way we want them to look. I'm sorry, Wolverine has sleeves. Okay,
Maybe they get ripped off. Maybe they get ripped off.
they might get torn off. You never know.
Well, I think we're gonna tear off this bit of news and just get into the Crow.
Do you miss the days when I just yelled at you all the time?
A little bit.
Really?
It's like I think there's like a therapeutic or therapy trauma response, call and response to that action, but I can't say I don't miss it.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll try and find the way to bring back the vitriol every now and then, because I do feel like we one of us usually backs down more than we used to from these arguments, and we're just like, all right. But I think it's because you told me don't yuck my yum one too many times. I think that's probably why. I'm like, well, you know what? I don't want to
we
yuck
like
his
different
yum.
we like different things.
Yeah, it's fair.
We might like different things about this movie.
It's just sometimes the things you like are wrong. There, was that better? Was that better? Did that make you feel good?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, fair enough. I'll try more and more to do that. And it's truthful. I'm not making it up. I'm not faking it for you. I just was trying to be nice, but I feel like you don't necessarily want me to try to be nice. So I'm gonna tear into you. Let's go. Let's talk about The Crow.
The Crow, directed by Alex de Proyas, starring Brandon Lee, Michelle Wincott, Rachel Davis, came out in 1994. This R-rated,
Based on the comic book by James A. Barr.
R-rated crime action drama.
Yeah, right? I watched it on Paramount Plus, and it was classified as only a drama. And I was like, really? That's a bold move. Alex Proyas, by the way, do you know what other things he directed?
I'm looking at it right now. iRobot,
Dark City, Knowing, and
I really like Knowing a lot.
I don't think
have you seen Knowing? It's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I know, but I haven't seen it. He also directed that crappy Gods of Egypt movie that just looked awful.
That movie made money though.
It bombed at the box office.
Money.
No, it did not make money. Gods of Egypt bombed at the box office.
iRobot did not bomb at the box office.
Okay, fair enough. That's fine. You just, I don't know why you were arguing that a movie succeeded when it clearly did not. But yes. So this guy actually, The Crow was his first movie, just so you know, like his first theatrical movie. So, I just want to say, like, however good or bad any of the movies that he made after The Crow, you got to give this guy some credit because this guy had some pretty rough circumstances for this movie. I don't think it's a spoiler to say, we're talking about this movie, but like Brandon Lee is the star of this movie, and this was going to be a really big one for him. He'd done a movie or two before in Hollywood. He is the son of Bruce Lee. But the previous movie he'd done was like called Showdown in I think Little Tokyo or something. Yeah, and it's a martial arts movie, you know what I mean? And so like I think Brandon Lee's goal was to break out of that corner that he'd kind of already been painted in for like the kind of movie he should be making, and so that's why he wanted to go and do The Crow, which is it's a big jump from a martial arts movie, right? That's not what this is. And sadly for anybody who's listening this and as didn't know, the bigger significance of this movie is that Brandon Lee actually died on the set of this movie. He was it was a stunt gone wrong. Like a gun was not properly loaded. It was loaded with a real bullet. It was a 44 Magnum, by the way. That's a big gun. And in a scene that the director just kind of improvised and said, hey, I think it'd be cool if this guy shot you. They handed that guy a gun. They said roll or action. The guy shot the gun, and Brandon Lee died right later from a bullet that went into his abdomen and lodged into his spine. He died from that injury later that day. And that's crazy, right? Like, and I remember as a teenager who used to watch Entertainment Tonight when it was cool to watch Entertainment Tonight, like that was the big news in Hollywood, and it was really sad, and it was really creepy too because his dad died on the set of a movie as well. So there was all this weird, like, speculation and stuff like that. There's secret shadow people that want the Lee family killed or whatever. But I think it just goes to show that like sometimes these movies that we love to watch and criticize and stuff, we don't realize how dangerous they are unless it's a top movie. Then we know full well how fucking dangerous it is.
Like I feel like if you haven't been on a movie set, if you ever been on go to a real movie set, you'll notice or become very apparent how much of everything is very much a facade.
Yeah.
And how shoestring a lot of operations are. And by that can extend down to staff, and incompetent staff who, can lead to situations and accidents like these.
Yeah. But like, so back to what I was saying, credit to Alex Proyas, because like what ended up happening is Paramount was producing this movie. Brandon Lee died in the middle of the movie, and then they shut down production, and Paramount said, screw it. And they wrote this movie off as a tax write-off. It wasn't going to be released. And then, interested parties ended up forming a corporation just specifically to take over production of this movie and finish it through, because the director and Brandon Lee's fiance, Eliza Dutton, who was on set, as his like credited as his like assistant, they both decided that he would want the movie to be made, to be finished and released, and so they got the crew together. They tried some weird shit. They at first they said, hey, you know what? We have this face mask that was molded from Brandon's face that was meant for the stunt performers to wear. Should we try doing the scenes with somebody wearing this mask? They tried that, and it creeped people the fuck out. They're like, no, we can't do this. And they're like, all right, fine, we'll do it the other way. And so the other way was they went to the trouble of like they computer generated imagery was just getting, becoming a thing in movies at the time, and they realized that they might be able to use like existing footage, B-roll, cutting room floor kind of stuff of Brandon on the set to, finish the movie in a way that was
Mhm.
good enough. And so that's what they did. And so, like, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy to think they did that. Just so you know, the guy who was responsible for firing the gun, that guy quit acting for a year after that movie. He still has nightmares about that. Like you don't think you're gonna go to work and kill somebody. You know what I mean? Like that's not. Well, I mean, most normal people don't think that. I guess like it's, you know, uh, I don't want to make you out there feel bad if that's something you dream of doing, but please don't do it. Just
No,
yeah,
murder is bad.
no murder, no
Like
murder.
like Gypsy Rose said, murder is bad.
Here at Denix Celsior, we do not endorse murder. Okay.
I was actually pretty impressed with this. I mean, let me run this back. I saw the vision, and I don't
Right.
think they failed on their execution of that vision.
Yeah.
It is a very stylized look. It has a particular lane I think they're trying to stay in, and they achieve it. It's it reminded me honestly like a lot of like a like 90s Zack Snyder, a 90s Zack Snyder movie. That's what this felt like to me.
Interesting. I I would have. I thought you were gonna say Sin City.
It's different than Sin City though.
It is different in that it takes on more of a
Yeah.
goth atmosphere, whereas Sin City is taking on a pulp noir atmosphere.
But
But
even
I
so, there's a shininess. Yeah, there's like a shininess to Sin City that this is a very like grimy movie, and I think it's cool for that. Like they have an aesthetic and then they go for it.
I think that's why people liked it, is because it had that it really leaned into an aesthetic that a lot of movies
Hot
weren't.
Topic personified, like 90s Hot Topic
There you
personified.
go. There you go. Yeah. Just so you know, it was a sleeper hit at the box office. It opened at number one with 11 million and averaging 7,400 per theater, and then it ultimately ended up grossing 50 million, which and 50 million in America and 43 million internationally. So
Well,
budget 23 million.
I was a baby obviously at this time. I did not see it in theaters, but was I mean, was this a big thing when it came out? Was the Crow book like a well-known thing?
I didn't read this book. I didn't read The Crow, but somehow I think through osmosis, I knew when this was being when I was seeing previews for this movie, I knew that it was based off a comic book. So I had probably seen The Crow at my local comic store when I used to physically have to go pick up my comics. So I definitely knew that Crow was a thing, and I I'm not trying to say I'm judgy, but I knew the kind of people that liked reading The Crow. All right? Does that make sense? Like I think let's be real. Like it's a go-to book for every goth kid in the 90s, right? And so but that's fine though,
This
right?
is
Like
their Citizen Kane.
maybe not Citizen Kane, but yeah, I think it's definitely it speaks to people of a certain subculture in a big way, and I think that was really cool that this movie wasn't trying to cater to the masses and yet still succeeded in Hollywood, like as or like worldwide as like a very popular movie. And was part of that probably the morbidity that like people wanted to see the movie where the guy died? Yeah, probably, but um, I think it's still a compelling story. And so like I think we've done a lot to talk about like all the behind the scenes of it, but do you want to like explain the story of this movie really quick?
Man who a man and
He's a
woman
mu-
who are
he's a musician. He's a musician.
an engaged couple dies on the night before Halloween. They're murdered by some gang. 1 year later, the man is resurrected by
by, by,
by a crow,
by a raven pretending to be a
by a
crow.
raven pretending to be a crow, and
It's
the raven bestows crow powers to the man, and then he goes and gets revenge for the night.
it's just a fun fact I learned that all the crows on set were actually ravens, which a raven is just a bigger bird with a more pronounced beak. But I thought it's funny that they didn't use a single crow in the movie called The Crow. But didn't mean to derail you. Yes, so he gives him superhuman powers, and the guy goes on a revenge kick, right?
Yeah,
Or
it all
I
takes
guess
place in one night.
one night in Detroit. Yeah,
Yeah,
one night in Detroit. It's I guess Devil's Night is actually a very famous known thing in Detroit. Arson. That it's the night they do arson, right? It's just
yeah,
that's what they do. And so
yeah.
like this
You just arson.
and so this like evil guy that's in charge of all the bad people in Detroit, he supposedly created Devil's Night and he wants it to get bigger and badder every year, and so he wants to burn it all down. And I don't know, like I don't think you're supposed to empathize or feel for the bad guys, and I think that makes it easier for the plot of the movie to take place, right? Is this guy just goes on this insane murder spree, but he likes to creatively kill his victims, right? Almost kind of like, I don't know, like it feels almost like Freddy Krueger or like Jason Voorhees. It's almost like a monster movie, right? But like it just stays on somehow on the side of you still empathizing with him as a person. But like,
well, he uses their, I don't say vices, but
yeah, I think that's fair.
he uses their sins against them.
Yes, he does. And so he gives me a very Ghost Rider vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I can see the Ghost Rider parallel.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, well, before I answer, I mean, do you like this movie? Do you like this movie more or less now? Like, I never got the sense that this was a good movie.
I don't like this movie more now than I did then. I liked it a lot then, actually, without ever being a goth kid.
Yeah, well, I could see myself like in that same lane. Like, this seems like a cool ass movie
it was
for
a cool
kid
movie.
in the 90s.
It was a cool movie for a kid in the 90s. Yes. I think one of the main reasons it was cool for a kid in the 90s is because we were so starved to see things from our comic book stores end up on the big screen. And so this was like a win, right? Like it was a win because it was made and it didn't suck, right? Like it didn't suck. Like it could have been way worse than it was, right? All things considered, the guy died in the movie and it's still not a pile of shit, right? Like
No, it's good.
it still effectively gets the point across. You feel bad for Eric Draven as a character. You even feel bad for Ernie Hudson's character, who's just trying to do good in the city. You feel bad for his wife, like, and you feel bad for the girl that got left behind, right? Like Shelly, or wait, no, Shelly's the wife. I'm trying to remember what her name is, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like these characters actually extract, like they extract our compassion. Like you watch it and you do feel something for them. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, because a lot of action superhero movies don't pull that off, I'm glad we didn't actually have to see his wife get raped, but they kept alluding to it a lot. Like they kept showing like first person rape, I think, like,
yeah, I mean, that's a very like 80s, 90s shot. Like RoboCop has a lot of that.
yeah. Did this movie not remind you of RoboCop?
Oh, it's the same exact movie as RoboCop.
It's the same movie, right? But with a different
same
vibe,
movie
right?
as John Wick. Same movie as
The Punisher.
The Punisher. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the 90s like Beekeeper. What's the movie you saw last week?
I didn't see Beekeeper, but I'm aware.
Not Beekeeper, but the other one.
The other one, Mars Attacks. What are we talking about?
No. Like how this generation we have ex CIA agent who's now a baker and gets called back in to save the world.
Yeah.
The 90s was man dies, gets resurrected, and comes back and gets revenge.
I mean, it's true. Like I think every generation has this movie, but like at its core, revenge movies are fun because you get to see people get their just desserts, right? And it's all about if we know, like it's just like Die Hard, right? You watch a movie, oh, you're like, oh, this is a Die Hard movie. I get it, you know, like that's a fun kind of genre, and every time somebody does it, you want to see what they have to add to it. And I don't know if The Crow added a lot besides style, right? I don't think there's a lot of substance there, but I think like you talked about the grimy aesthetic of it all. They go hard on that aesthetic, man. Like it's pretty like we were so grossed out by like, okay, so his apartment was a murder scene a year ago. He goes back there and it's still a murder scene. Like they didn't, nope, nobody's renting that place out
Like
at
there's
all.
a
Like
lot of trash everywhere.
it's so trashed, right? Are people squatting there or what? Or was it just this trash when they left it there? You know what I mean? Like the amount of detail that went into every set in that movie is amazing. Even more so, did you catch that it's kind of like toy photography?
Yeah,
Like
the model work for the
the
building.
the city, the entire city is a
Mhm.
miniature. Did you catch that the miniatures are also used for the car chase?
No.
Yeah, the entire car chase was actually miniatures with projection. You know, like they're projecting the people into the cars and stuff like that. Um, there's some cool ass special effects in this movie that I was pretty impressed to see on the rewatch. So, like technically, there's a lot of interesting things going on in this movie. I think story wise, like I warned you yesterday, right? I was like, hey, the audio mix might be weird for you. Like we read that there's some weird thing the way movies were encoded in the 90s and then processed. They weren't meant for home theaters back then, you know.
Mhm.
So like so when I was watching it, the audio mix was weird and like the dialogue was really, really quiet compared to all the other sound. And I told you, hey, you might have to do subtitles or whatever, stuff like that. But then I also said, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. I don't think the dialogue's that
I
important to a
couldn't
lot of
tell
the
you a
movie.
word that was said.
Exactly,
I
right?
could
Well,
barely. I don't think I can tell you like the
well,
actual story, reasoning. Like I know he dies. Crow brings him back. He gets revenge. He goes back in. Like, is there a higher being or god tied to how he came back, or is it just spooky Crow?
they say sometimes a crow will bring you back. That's what they said at the beginning of the
That's it.
movie. That's it. That's right. Like that's
It's cool though. It's cool. Like it gets. That's all you need to know.
it's more about the vibe, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like, hey, come live in this world and watch a guy murder bad people. And that's what the crow is. Like that's you, so take it or leave it. If you don't like the vibe, if you turn on the crow and you watch 5 minutes of it and you're like, I hate it.
You're either
Just
in or you're out.
yeah, just get out now, okay? Because you're not gonna get more than that.
Have
It's yeah.
Well, this movie has 4 sequels, right?
It's got sequels and a TV show, I
Have you
believe.
seen any of the sequels?
I think I have seen the first sequel. I have not like City of
The
Angels.
City of Angels, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. I have not seen any of the others for sure. And I honestly don't remember City of Angels other than like, you know, at the time back then I wasn't super used to my actors getting replaced all the time. I think only Val Kilmer had replaced Batman, you know, like it wasn't a normal thing yet. So I think I just like wholly rejected the Crow sequel because it couldn't have yeah, I wasn't very forgiving of them back then. You know, I'm like, no, the guy's dead. You shouldn't allow anybody else to do it. Like that's yeah, that's pretty rough. But no, I didn't watch it. So right, I mean, I don't remember it. Why were you gonna ask?
No, because I know this thing has lived on. I can definitely remember going to the Blockbuster and seeing The Crow there, along with like 4 other movies. I
Yeah,
did see. I thought it was still conceptual, but there's another Crow movie coming out this year,
really, probably
or
for the
like a
30
pseudo reboot.
the 30th anniversary. Wow, Thomas Jane is in The Crow too, and the
Do you
screenplay
know?
is from David S. Goyer.
So you have
Interesting.
Bill Skarsgård is going to be the new Eric, and singer
Really?
songwriter FKA Twigs. It's going to be Shelley Webster.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty
Coming
cool.
out in September.
I love me some Bill Skarsgård. I think he is. But see, I think he's gonna do what I was trying to say. What I was saying is like, I think he's gonna add the monster to it, right? Because at the end of the day, this thing is this character is kind of a monster, right? He shows
Mhm.
up and he's kind of terrifying. Like people shoot him and stab him, and then he sits there and lets them watch the holes heal up, and like that's a terrifying thing on its own, right? But like then he murders you in like a way that's very specific and very graphic. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, that's a lot of heroin to put in one human being, or morphine or whatever they were using. Also, like that was a really cool and gross effect when he sucked the morphine out of that woman's arm.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, that was weird.
but it was cool. Like he was trying to so the poster actually says, the Crow, believe in angels. So I think this movie is trying to call him an angel who goes and down to earth and does angelic things. I don't know. Wait, is that your take? Do you see
It's
it?
the Old Testament way of relieving you of your sins.
I guess so, yeah. But he was trying to make Darla, like who was like the whore of the movie, uh remember that she's also a mother. And I thought it was a cool scene. That was probably one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. Sadly, by the way, that's the scene where he died in that movie. Like there,
No.
when the guy's shooting him, like when they're and he's when him and Darla are on the bed. Yeah, that's when he died. I was thinking that when I was watching that scene, I was like, I wonder if it's this scene. And I looked it up and it was, and it's sad. But yeah, I think that for me, that was the most powerful scene. Like the watching him do something other than get revenge, right? He wanted
Yeah,
to,
that brought in the hero part to the story where he just wasn't a
yes.
psychopath.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
reading here that there was a canceled Crow movie in 2000 starring DMX, the Crow
Whoa.
Lazarus.
Whoa. Well, I'm glad we didn't do that. That's great. But yeah, no, I guess like I think it goes without saying, like I think you and I liked this movie, but
I
it's
like
not
it.
the
I
top.
like. I
It's not
get
the
like.
top of our list,
Trust me.
right?
Like if it's emo night, got some friends over, put on the Crow. Be a good time.
I mean, the bad guy does some cool kills. I'll give him that.
He has like a weird Western accent too. No, he was cool.
Yeah,
He has
yeah,
swords.
yeah.
90s
He's got
ass
a.
bad guy.
At one point, I'm like, "It's the Crow fighting the Highlander? What's going on here?" Like only Highlanders own that many different swords from all over the world. Am I wrong?
No. You could never know. You never know. That would be the perfect crossover for this movie.
Right? It would. All right. I just wanted to say thumbs up to The Crow, but I'm probably never going to watch the other ones.
Thumbs up to the Crow. I'll watch the one coming out later this year.
Okay, I'll watch that one too. Fair enough. All right. Next week, Venom, let there be carnage. Later, guys.
Are we doing it? Are we doing it?
We'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do it. Let's do it.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. Venom next week. And with that, true believers, enough said.